Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book haul for you, but unlike all of my other book hauls, this is a haul specific to horror. I went on kind of a horror buying spree and I didn't get out of control. I have only a few books here. Sometimes I get a little tired and bored of a genre if I've been reading a lot of it lately. Especially if the books that I've been reading have been executed in a similar way, have similar formats, have similar storylines, have similar twists, and it's easy to get in a reading rut, especially with the genres that I read, which are, it's genre fiction, it's romance, it's thrillers, it's horror, it's some sci-fi, those books can be executed very similarly sometimes, and I do get a little bored. I want to read a horror. I want to find some horror novels that I can really sink my teeth into. They're few and far between unless you go diving for them. You don't hear any big booktubers talking about a really exciting release coming out that just happens to be horror. So like I said, I have a few books here that I want to tell you about. The first is Escape, and this is by Iain Wright. I've already committed to giving this book 5 stars simply because, and if you follow me on Instagram, which you should totally be following me on Instagram, but simply because the dedication of this book states, dedicated to all those deeply confused by Brexit. I posted about it on Instagram. It's won me over already. This is the story of a company retreat that takes place inside of an escape room. So the main character's name is Cheryl, and she's locked in a room with 6 of her colleagues, and they have to cleverly work out the ways in which to escape. It says Cheryl will soon find out that the people she works with all share a secret, one they are willing to kill for. So things are probably going to go a little sideways inside this escape room. David Moody, you'll hear that name again. It says Iain Wright is sick and twisted. So that's kind of significant praise coming from David Moody because he's not exactly writing about rainbows and puppies. I'm just saying. But I am excited to read this. Next is the book One of Us. This is by Craig DeLouie. This is blurbed by Peter Clines, Shauna McGuire, Megan Hart, Jonathan Mayberry. It's the story of a teenage boy who's living in an orphanage consisting of other teenagers. All of them share or possess a unique genetic mutation. They are looked down upon by the townspeople around them, and one day a body is found and they start pointing fingers at our main character. It's described as crafted with sympathetic characters, tragedy, hope, and humor all expertly woven together. It's also described as the girl with all the gifts meets To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know how horrific this will be. It seems like it would be horrifying in a tragic sort of way. I think this is going to be a pretty moving reading experience and not just about sock you in the face gore and things of that nature. But it sounds like a really good book. It says they've called him a monster from the day he was born. It already sounds sad and affecting, and like Carrie, he's probably going to burn everyone to the ground. I don't know. I could be wrong. Next is a book called Calling Back the Dead. This is by J.R. Erickson. I got this because it says a Northern Michigan asylum novel. Apparently there's a whole series of them. This one sounds like it happens to be the second in the in the series that is made up of standalone novels. But it is the story of Carey Manor, which is an abandoned manor. And it's been restored, and a family moves into it as a sort of winter retreat. And of course, there's some stuff that goes down. Carey Manor houses a malevolence that spans a century, a twisted tale that began when a little girl went into the Northern Michigan Asylum for the Insane and emerged as something dark, something evil. So, sounds similar to like a haunted house novel. Obviously, the big draw to this is the reference to Michigan. You guys know I'm a sucker for local things. Okay, the author's note says, "Thanks so much for picking up a Northern Michigan Asylum novel. This is an entirely fictional novel, although there was once a real place known as the Northern Michigan Asylum, which inspired me to write these books. It is in no way depicted within them. In truth, nearly every book I have read about the asylum, later known as the Traverse City State Hospital, was positive. I live in the Traverse City area and regularly visit the grounds of the former asylum." Okay, spooky, but awesome. Obviously, I'm familiar with Traverse City, and so I'm looking forward to reading this little bit of home in this book. Next is a book called Turn the Other Way. This is by Stuart James. This book is a little bit confusing for me. The synopsis begins by talking about a doctor who is responsible for the death of a patient and how that patient's parents are hell-bent on revenge. Then the synopsis jumps to a couple driving and hearing knocking or muted screams from inside of a van and trying to rescue or uncover what's going on there. And then it also jumps to a girl whose parents are missing, and she is determined to find them. Now, what ties it all together, as far as I can tell, says a derelict farmhouse in the Essex countryside, a deranged family, innocent victims being picked at random. If you're chosen, turn the other way. So, sounds kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre-ish, right? Except that maybe there's a little bit more intent in what is happening here. I'm wondering if it is the parents of the woman who died at the hands of this surgeon. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I think it was reviewed really highly or well, and so I, bought it. Speaking of David Moody, One of Us Will Be Dead by Morning is kind of a spin-off duology of his Hater series, which is by far the most popular book that David Moody has written. And I don't know if you've seen my DNF video yet, if I've published it yet. I've definitely already filmed a DNF video in which I reference absolutely hating the book Hater by David Moody. But I didn't continue in that series, much to the dismay of a couple of subscribers who really suggested that I do so. It has been so long, it's been 2 years, that I thought I need to go back and reread Hater anyway. But then I saw this, which is, like I said, a spin-off of that original series. It involves different characters, but it's set in the same world. And I thought maybe if I read and enjoyed this, I would be motivated to continue on with the subsequent books after Hater. So One of Us Will Be Dead by Morning is the story of a group of people, 14 people, that are isolated on an island. They're sort of trapped there, and the people on this island begin to die. Somebody is killing people on the island, and then of course there's rumors amongst them about what is going on in the world as a whole, and are they also being affected by that, or are they excluded from that because they're isolated? One of my biggest complaints about Hater was the main character, who I literally hated, and I'm hoping that a similarly written novel taking place in a similar setting with a different cast of characters may make all the difference. Hater was not a bad book. It was just not a fun book to read. I hated it. I hated the reading experience. But the book itself is strong. Obviously, it's critically acclaimed. For God's sakes, the guy self-published it originally, and then it ended up being traditionally published, and the licensing and the rights were purchased at one point, but nothing ever came out. I mean, it had a successful run, for sure. Lastly is The Woman in the Dark. This is by Vanessa Savage. This, again, is another haunted house type story. It is about a woman who is suffering from depression after the death of her mother, and her husband moves them into his former childhood home. The catch is that home has since housed a family that was gruesomely murdered and is now referred to as the murder house. So, needless to say, there's some bad juju there. Technically, this could be considered a psychological thriller, but I'm not going to. I'm including it because I do what I want. This is my channel. So that's all that I have in the way of recently purchased horror books that I'm hoping shock my system out of some of the formulaic humdrum thrillers that I've read recently. If something that I've mentioned caught your eye and you're interested in knowing more about it, let me know. If you have a strong opinion about which of these I should maybe try to get to sooner rather than later, also let me know that down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.